Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind their attack is unknown at this time. He has been observed that a bike or exchange of fluids is a method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launching. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host,
Rodney Shortridge,
and co-host,
Robin Dalton.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by going to blogtalkradio.com/Within the Chaos, or listen in by phone. You can dial 323-870-4197. And you can also call in to ask questions to our guests at the same number, 323-870-4197. From deep within the heart of the Appalachians, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you all for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight, along with my fiery redhead co-host, Robin Dalton. Well, once again, Robin's not here, but I do have the dark-haired Raven.
Hello.
Tonight, our special guest is Samantha Scarlette. Samantha is an alternative rock singer, songwriter, host of Blackout on Adobe Radio. And whose phone is blowing up?
That would be you.
Who's calling me this time of night? My brother. I got a show to do. I ain't got time to talk to him. She's also the owner of MK Ultra 90 Clothing and an alternative model. First off, I want to say our hearts and thoughts go out to all the families of the shootings in Florida. This is a horrific thing that happened, and I know a lot of people out there that know me aren't going to like what I'm going to say, but this shit's got to fucking stop. Hey, too many innocent lives being taken away over some bullshit guns. Now, come on. I hunt. I have guns, but I don't let my kids get a hold of them or people get a hold of them to go out and start shooting people. Come on. Well, and with that being said, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Jennifer Joe Shortage of 222 Paranormal. Get a chance to check out their show. You can find them on Facebook under 222 Paranormal. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to all the Facebook paranormal groups that allow us to post our shows on their pages and helping us get the word out about our amazing guests. Also, another shout out to the Connor sisters, Misty and Ashley. Boy, I'm having a bad night, people. They're the founders of SOS, Sisters of Salem Paranormal Research Society, and hosts of their own podcast, Paranormal Party. You can find them on Facebook also under Paranormal Party. So, Melinda, how was your week?
My week was pretty crazy.
Why was it cray-cray?
Just pissing off some people in Richlands, Virginia.
That is right. Yeah, we went down there Tuesday night. You made a big speech and got a big ovation over that.
I did. I was proud of myself. I pat myself on the back.
I was proud of it. People. I want to bring this up too real quick before I get our guest on, but all this shit going on with the tarot card readings in a store that ain't even charging for tarot card readings, and this church and these Christians down there raising the mortal hell about it. I don't get it, considering that Christianity is one invented tarot cards.
Yes, right? Yes. The Roman Catholics did. They're actually the ones that created it. Yes. And
I loved how everybody got up there and said, "Well, I'm not going to preach." No sooner they said that, they began preaching.
Yes, but what was really disturbing is that one of the preachers there, he got up and stood and said that pagans and Wiccans are child molesters. But yet he's a man of God.
I guess he don't get the newspaper or nothing, or Fox News, I'm sure he get Fox News, but I'm pretty sure they do say something about how these Catholic priests and shit got busted for raping little kids.
Yes, and having to pay all these families.
Mm-hmm. I guess he didn't get the memo on that.
No.
Well, enough of that shit. That gets me all stirred up. I'm going to go ahead and get a girl on here. Like I said, it's my honor to welcome our special guest, Samantha Scarlette. Hello, Samantha. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm good. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I've got my Beats by Dre headphones on, so I don't know if there's a delay.
No, it sounds great.
Okay, perfect.
Good. Well, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you started, your amazing journey to becoming an alternative rock singer and songwriter?
Growing up, I always wanted to do music, and originally I wanted to do pop music when I was probably 10, 12, or 11 or 12. I wanted to do pop music because back then everything on the radio was Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. And so I took vocal lessons, and then when I was about 12 or 13, I got a guitar, and I started taking guitar lessons, and I started getting more into rock, so I kind of focused on that stuff. And I was actually on the path to doing music when I was in my early teens. I had management that was interested in me, and I would do performances at state fairs and stuff like that. But then I just kind of got fed up with it, being 14 years old or so. And I totally stopped doing music, and I started skateboarding, and that was my life until I was 19. A month before I turned 20, I got in a really bad skateboard accident where I had a traumatic brain injury. So I had to stop skateboarding, and it got me to refocus back on music. And actually having a head injury, for some reason, it made me playing guitar for some reason. So I started being able to write music. I couldn't really write guitar music or anything prior to that. So I started writing music, and then I did an EP in 2011, and yeah, I've just been doing music pretty much ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your inspiration, to creating, your music and so forth?
Probably just, I don't know, like I have different, obviously like every song is about something different. I guess stylistically, I try to draw from different artists that have inspired me. I mostly listen to like 90s alternative rock and like new wave and just like older music. I'm not a big fan of anything that's currently on the radio. So yeah, I have different inspirations as far as like the sound of my music or what the songs are about. So it's kind of like a loaded question, I guess.
Me give a loaded question? I do that all the time. All my guests are like, "Damn, dude, you didn't tell me I was going to have homework." So who are your favorite musicians or groups, that you do listen to? I mean, anybody in particular? I know you're probably going to laugh at me when I say mine's Duran Duran, but that's how old I am.
Okay. My favorite musician, or like my favorite band actually, and everybody pretty much probably knows this, is the Smashing Pumpkins. And I was like so excited today because they just announced their reunion tour, which like, I mean, I've seen them a bunch of times, but I've never seen like the original lineup, so I'm excited that they're going to do a tour with James Iha. So I'm like super excited. The tickets go on sale next week. I'm like, yes, I have to get front row for Madison Square Garden, which I probably won't be able to unless I pay $1 zillion on StubHub. But yeah, Smashing Pumpkins are my absolute favorite, and I think Billy Corgan is like the most amazing songwriter ever.
Cool. You're up.
My turn.
Your turn. Next.
Hello, Samantha. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
How do you balance your music and other obligations such as family and friends?
Well, honestly, like music right now, it's not like at the forefront of anything because music is really, really hard to make money off of or be profitable. I'm not a signed artist, and even if you're signed, it's incredibly hard to make money. The only people that are making money are people like Ariana Grande or Lady Gaga and Rihanna, and I've even heard stuff with them that they don't really make as much money as you think. Like, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard stuff that, like, Lady Gaga, when she goes on these elaborate tours, she doesn't really make a profit. She pretty much just breaks even. So music is, I don't know, it's hard to have that as, like, a number one thing because in this, like, society that we live in, everybody expects to get it for free. Like, I actually had the last time I released a single with my song Page 6, which was released in 2016, I did not release it to Spotify or any streaming service initially. Initially it was just released on paid platforms like, not YouTube, I'm sorry, I'm like really tired, on iTunes and Google Play and Amazon. And I actually had fans message me angry and say, how dare you charge for music? And I was like, well, do you understand that this costs me money to record the music? You can't expect me to give it away for free. And like, I literally had fans that blocked me and bitched me out. I don't know if I'm allowed to use that word, over wanting to be compensated for my music, which, like I had to write it. I had to put time and effort into recording it. I had to spend money on recording studios and on production, etc. But, so it's very, very hard to make money off of music in this climate where everybody expects everything for free and they want instant gratification, and people also want you to put out like music like every year, and they don't understand the cost involved. So I'm actually getting back to refocusing on music, but the last 2 years I've been more focused on doing my radio podcast stuff because that's a more lucrative market, as well as my clothing line. There's more money-making potential off of that stuff.
Okay. But, yeah, you can say whatever you want. This is a very free speech show.
To say the least.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I mean, on the radio show I do for Adobe, we're allowed to use curse words because, like, Adobe is flexible with that. But I know that some internet radio stuff, it's like there's, like, censorship, and they like to stick to FCC standards. So I wasn't sure if your show was. I was like, I hope I'm not using bad language.
Some of my shows, you wouldn't believe. There's one guest I have on a couple times. Well, I guess I've had a couple times. She's a doctor too, Lord gosh, we try to talk about, her work, but next thing I know, she's talking about sucking dick while some guy's playing a video game, and I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, wow.
Talking about your job to this, but you got the platform, lady. I'll run with you.
Oh, I have to say, I wanted to say, but I didn't get to say it yet. I really liked the intro to your show. I was really confused when I heard the thing that sounds like, like the TV alert thing, like, what is that called? I'm so tired. Like, I have to set my alarm to wake up for this. But the thing that sounds like the emergency alert system and the thing that there's like UFOs landed. I was like, what the heck? Like, at first for a second, I'm like, wait. And then I'm like, oh no, the time stamp on it's like not correct or whatever. But I was just like, I thought that was a really creative show intro.
I know most people, when they hear it at first, they're like, is something really going on? And then one guy,
yeah, like I was like,
he was like, there's zombies.
It took me like 2 seconds. It's the part that where I was like, okay, this is like bullshit, was when I heard that where it said midnight East Coast. I'm like, well, it's 10 p.m., so nothing happens here at midnight. So you need to like update that and have it say 10 p.m. if you want to really fool people.
Yeah, I know I need to do that, but I think if I did, people would end up hanging up and running for the hills.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mess up your flow there.
It's okay. So, is your family musical, and if so, do they encourage your music?
Well, they're not. I guess, like, my mom's not musical. My dad plays, I don't know, saxophone, but, like, that's just, like, something he does for fun, like, after work. My parents aren't, like, musical, but they're definitely both supportive of my musical career. One of my cousins has a indie rock band, but she was actually never musical. That came as a shock to everyone. I think it's more like not her husband who she has the band with. It's more the one that's like the driving force with that. But she's kind of the only one that's musical in my family, I guess.
All my family's musical. I can't play nothing. I can't even play the spoon. Just put it in my mouth. That's about it. Okay, like you said earlier, you're the host of Blackout on Adobe Radio. Can you tell us, more about your show and the type of guests you have on?
Yeah, so I started out doing a show called I Want to Believe with Samantha Scarlette for a station called Energy Rock Radio that was, I guess they're still around, they're out of Canada, and they're like a very, very small online station. And I did 10 episodes of a show for them, and the whole thing was kind of, it was like mostly paranormal based. And then they got kicked off of TuneIn, so they didn't really have much of a platform anymore. So I sought out to get with a different station, and I sent out to different people, and I heard back from this guy named Eddie Abrella at Adobe, and he was like, hey, why don't you come do a trial thing with us on the Eddie, Jason, and Chris show, and you can do a 20-minute segment each week. And I had no clue that the Eddie, Jason, and Chris show got 100,000 listeners per episode, whereas the other thing I was on got max 3,000. So all of a sudden I was doing this stuff for Eddie, Jason, and Chris, where every week for 20 minutes in their second hour I would have usually a paranormal themed guest. I think all of them were paranormal related, except 1 week in February of last year I had Brat on as a guest. But so I did mostly paranormal stuff for them. And then after being on the Eddie, Jason, and Chris show for 6 months, I talked to Eddie, because Eddie's one of the co-owners of the station, along with Joel Madden from Good Charlotte and one of the former MTV programming directors. So that's who owns the station. But anyway, so I talked to Eddie about having my own show, and Eddie was like, yeah, we'll do a show together. And I was like, let's do Friday nights. He was like, yeah, cool. So starting May 5th of last year, I started doing Blackout with Samantha Scarlette and Eddie Abrella on Adobe, and it kept the paranormal format, except we tried to incorporate, we would usually do 2 to 3 interviews per show, and we would have the first interview would usually be with some, an alternative model or a rock band, and then we would have the paranormal guest. So we kind of wanted to, get, 2 different types of fan bases listening. And I did that show with Eddie until November. And Eddie actually had to quit that show, and he had to quit Eddie, Jason, and Chris show because he was doing stuff for terrestrial radio. So since November, it's just been Blackout with Samantha Scarlette. And I've pretty much only had paranormal guests on since then. I was actually thinking about, I need to start booking music guests again. But I've been really happy and successful and fortunate with, like, all the cool guests I've been able to get on. Like, last month I was able to get Major Ed James on about remote viewing. 2 weeks ago I had the co-owner Donald Schmidt of the Roswell, New Mexico UFO Museum. I just get a mixed bag of really cool guests. This week is actually, like, a non-paranormal guest. Tomorrow night I'm going to be talking to Lanny Sarum. She wrote a kind of paranormal themed young adult fiction book that caused a lot of controversy last summer when she was the first 23-hour New York Times bestseller, and she was accused of buying her way onto the bestsellers list, and it caused a big stir in the literary community. So she's going to come on and talk about her side of the story. So it's a fun show. I have fun doing it.
Awesome. Have you had any strange call-ins into your show?
We don't actually take call-ins on Blackout. On Eddie, Jason, and Chris show, they did take call-ins, but I guess the strangest call-in was there was this kid from Australia that, I mean, he was really nice. He would call them every single week for, like, even before I was on the show, he called them every week for, like, 2 years straight, and it was just, like, an ongoing thing, like David from Australia. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. We also used to have somebody that he was a guest that claimed to be the devil that would call in occasionally. But that was a scheduled thing.
Okay. I heard that you're a big Art Bell fan. Is this true?
Yes. Art Bell was totally my inspiration for wanting to do radio. When I was 16, I went to community college, which the community college where I grew up in Arizona is actually, like, their radio and TV program was supposedly, like, on par with going to, like, UCLA or a major school. Like, there were actually people that came from, sorry, I'm, like, so tired. That came from as far away as, like, Canada to go to school there because it was cheap and you got, like, the same level of experience and equipment that you got to deal with. But anyway, so when I was 16, I went to community college for TV and radio, and definitely, like, Art Bell was totally the reason I wanted to do radio, and I just didn't put it to use until more recently. But yeah, he's definitely, like, my biggest inspiration as far as radio. I love Art Bell. I think I've listened to almost everything that's out on YouTube of his, and obviously, like, when he was on air from, like, 2001 until he went off air, I used to listen to him religiously.
Yeah, when I drove truck cross country, I'd listen to him every night. That's what kept me awake, was listening to Art and some of his shows. And, man, he had some, I'm glad we ain't had no call-ins like he had. he had
like JC.
He's like, okay, next caller.
Yeah, I mean, he would get some really crazy people calling in, but that was kind of the beauty of it. I think when I if I listened to Coast with George Norrie or Midnight in the Desert with Heather Wade, their open lines are never as good as Art Bell's because he would get really, really crazy people, and I loved that. I loved listening to that. I think I liked that better than when he had guests, but I also feel like the thing with Art Bell and why things were, like, so great on his shows was because it was, like, even if the internet was around, there wasn't as much information that was easily accessible. So I feel like I don't think if, like, he just were to come out with that show now that it would do as well because everything is a lot more easily debunked. So, yeah, like, things like Roswell and, you know, Bigfoot, yeah, you can still do shows on that. But some of the crazier things that he discussed on the show, like, you know, I'm trying to think, like, the Billy Meyer story, or, like, when there was the guy that claims he could trap an entity with, like, his, I don't know, was, like, bug chaser, like the sonic wave thing that you get rid of vermin with. I think things like that, you could not do an episode about something like that now because you can just easily go on the internet and find out, okay, this is bullshit. But
right.
But back then, because there was What?
Sorry, go ahead. I said, what was so fascinating back then, when I was driving, like you said, you didn't have the information like you do today, but just hearing it on his show and someone actually talking about it and so passionate, you're like, are they really fucking serious? Is that true?
It gave the realm of possibility. I mean, there were some guests of his that were completely batshit crazy, like Nancy Leader, and I honestly thought it was. And I was probably 12 or 13 when she was claiming that the end of the world was coming on some specific date in May with the Zetas, and that there's going to be the pole shift with Nibiru. And I remember thinking back then, this is really irresponsible because they're giving a platform to somebody that's talking absolute crazy talk. But yeah, it was great. And I know with the Y2K thing going on, man, he had my guts tore up, and all these guests on. Oh yeah, I didn't hear that.
Oh my, that was. You get a chance to listen to those. Those are kind of unnerving. You're like, am I going to be able to go?
Are they on YouTube? I've never heard any of those.
I was listening to them live when I was out driving. When I was out on the road.
Okay, yeah.
So
I didn't start listening till.
I'm sorry.
I think I started listening right after. I'm sorry. I think I started listening right after 9/11. So because I couldn't sleep at night because I was always scared after 9/11, so I wouldn't fall asleep. So then I started listening to that. So I never heard any of the shows in the 90s live. Any of the 90s shows, I've only heard them on YouTube or the replays of Mel Toll and stuff, which Mel Toll obviously, that's another great story that at the time seemed really believable. Though the one thing I will say about Mel Toll was I did have the internet available, and I do remember going on Terra server or whatever the satellite map was and seeing that the area that his hole was supposedly at was blacked out, and that is the only thing that gives any credence to that story, because I think the story's bullshit. But then I'm like, wait a second, why was the area blocked out by the government or Microsoft or whoever on the server? Was this story remotely true? I definitely don't think that he put any sheep down the hole and then the sheep was cooked and there was a baby seal with human eyes inside of it or any of that. That was just insane.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to jump off topic, but I want to get back to the paranormal here in a minute. But I want to talk about your MK Ultra 90 clothing. Can you describe your clothing line and what got you on the path of, in the clothing world?
Yeah, so this is actually the third time I've done a clothing line. When I was 18, I did a clothing line that was called Dark Matter Project, and that was more skateboard related stuff, and I did have space aliens on the shirts, but they were bright colors, and that was just a learning experience. And I did another clothing line in 2012 called Goth by Samantha Scarlette, which is really similar to MK Ultra, and I'm old Goth by Samantha Scarlette stuff under MK Ultra, but it just was a terrible name for the clothing line. So I guess those are pretty much the same line. And so most of my stuff, it's mostly black T-shirts and accessories that have kind of a gothic or faux satanic vibe to them. I'll put occult symbols and tarot cards on the shirt and universal hexagrams with the all-seeing eye in them that say wide awake. So it's all playing on the conspiracy, Illuminati, satanic, all this stuff that's really trendy right now, which I know to a lot of people that are older, they're oh, that's really disturbing or creepy, or don't do that. People that are not open-minded or take it super seriously. But in the to younger people that listen to rock music, there's actually a lot of other clothing lines that put out similar stuff, and it's just very trendy. So I know that people think, because I have a clothing line called MK Ultra, oh my god, she's some evil whatever and in the Illuminati, and I'm no, I'm just trying to do stuff that's on trend. It's just fashion, but yeah, no, it's all occult symbols. So if you T-shirts with tarot cards on them, and they're modified tarot cards, they're not this, they have stuff done to them so that they're unique. So if you T-shirts with tarot cards that are high quality with discharge inks, come check out MK Ultra 90 clothing.
I may do it because the shop that I was mentioning at the beginning of the show, they're having some trouble down here because of do a tarot card readings for free, and the church that's down the street from them was raising mortal hell about it, and maybe they could sell
Where
some
is
t-shirts.
this?
This is down in Virginia, town called Richmond. Oh yeah, we went to a meeting there Tuesday night.
Wait, in Richmond, Virginia, people are upset about tarot card readings?
Richmond's like 5.5 hours from where we live.
Oh, okay, I thought you said Richmond. I was gonna say, I thought Richmond's pretty like civil.
Oh no, not Richmond's cool with that shit. I live out on the other end of Virginia, that little tip near Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
We're in a Bible Belt, and I mean it is Bible Belt. And they came out there.
I've never heard of people being.
Oh yeah, that to me it's First Amendment right type thing, but according to these Christians, they are. One guy even got up there. This was a town hall meeting now. He even said he's a preacher, right?
He's a preacher, yeah.
He's a preacher and said that he's
Oh my gosh.
Are in there to molest their kids, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where the hell did that come from?
That's insane. That's insane. Like in every major city, there's tarot readers like everywhere. Even where I live in New Jersey, which is a very, very affluent town, there's a tarot reader that just came in, which I actually have to say I was upset about it. Not because I care that she's doing tarot readings, but because it's like one of those gypsy tarot readers that's like completely bullshit, and they like they're the type that'll tell you, oh, you have a curse. And so I'm just like, how did the town zoning allow this? Because we don't actually even have businesses in town. So it's like upsetting that in a tiny little affluent town they allowed like some like gypsy tarot card reader. But other than that, like I don't have an issue. I don't get why anyone would have an issue, especially at a bookstore. Like if people want to get tarot readings, that's their issue. Just don't go in there if it's against your Christian faith.
I agree 100%, but
it says something against the zoning. They don't have the right permit.
Yeah, they have it zoned to where they can't. That it actually says in the zoning law that no business can hold tarot card readings.
It's under fortune telling.
I've
never heard of that.
Yep, and they were trying to get it changed. And they was going to supposedly was going to have a vote after everybody spoke their mind, but then they decided they're not going to vote on it.
Pretty much.
So
That's crazy.
It is, and the thing is, I was sitting in the back, and those two guys came in all dressed business suits and everything, and they're like, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "You're not from around here, are you?" They're like, "No, we're from another big town way up from us, Blacksburg." And I told him what was going on, and he started listening. And he's like, "When the hell did we go back to 1630?"
For real.
He said, "This is Richlands, Virginia, right? This ain't Massachusetts, is it?" I'm like, "No, it's Richlands, Virginia."
That's exactly what I said. I was just like, do we have really stepped back in time? It was.
He said, "Well, I guess we're fucked on our presentation, then, ain't we?" I said, "Well, what's your presentation?" Taxes. I'm like, "Well, you go away a while, buddy." I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump off the topic. Go ahead.
No, that's all good.
No, it's fine.
You're an alternative model. Can you explain exactly what that is?
Oh, it just means that I do modeling for like stuff like tattoo magazines or for like clothing lines that aren't necessarily mainstream. It's like basically just modeling without an agency.
Oh, okay.
What does it take to become a model these days?
Well, pretty much, that's once again another loaded question because pretty much there's really, if you're going to do agency modeling, yeah, that's a very specific thing. Like I'm too heavy, for instance, to do agency modeling. Even though I wear a size 0, I still by agency standards would be too heavy to be an agency model, and you have to be like 5'9", which I am 5'9". So I have like similar SKUs to an agency model, but I'm also too old. I'm 28, and you have to be under the age of 22 to get signed with an agency. But if you're not doing agency modeling, there's literally no standard today, which I don't think is actually a particularly great thing. But there's so much with like the internet and body positivity that pretty much like anybody can be a model. I mean, half the girls on my Facebook are apparently models. So I don't think there's really anything. I mean, I think that if you're going to be an actual model that's making money, there is a certain standard, but As far as doing photo shoots and stuff, there's really not.
Well, do you wear your clothing line on your photo shoots, or do you do any type of goth look, or is it just whatever they want you to do, you'll go with it?
I mean, most stuff is usually goth oriented. Like, I'm doing a photo shoot on Saturday for a photographer in New York who is doing a series that has to do with like candle wax, and he's been having, I guess, a gallery showing in March or April of that stuff. So, I mean, that's like pretty specific of what the attire is for that. But I mean, it just depends what it's for. Like for instance, when I did a photo shoot a couple months ago for a tattoo magazine, what I wore was up to me, so I picked out different looks. But I don't actually wear my stuff in photo shoots now that I think about it. I've only once, when the clothing line came out, did I do photos in it. I do wear my T-shirts like pretty often, but not in photo shoots. I probably should do some more photo shoots in my stuff. I've had like friends wear them in photo shoots, but yeah.
Okay. What started your journey into the paranormal world?
Pretty much listening to Art Bell. I guess prior to that, there was like a TV show that I used to watch when I was like 9 on Disney Channel called So Weird. That was, I guess it's kind of like the X-Files for kids, and I just like loved this show. And it was like, it dealt with so many different topics of the paranormal, and it was honestly like pretty not racy like sexually, but like racy as far as like paranormal content and stuff that probably wasn't particularly appropriate for little kids for Disney Channel to have on at the time, like in the late 90s. And then I used to watch these other shows there's this one show on what used to be called ABC Family Channel. I don't think the Family Channel exists anymore. I think it's like Freeform now, called Scariest Places on Earth, where people would go into these haunted locations. And like, then there was this other show on MTV called MTV Fear, and I would watch, it was similar to Scariest Places on Earth, and I would watch those shows like every week, and I was just fascinated by the concept of them. Though it's really funny when I've seen Scariest Places on Earth now, like a couple of years ago, I think they used to rerun it on Sci-Fi or some channel like that. It's really funny because there's like literally nothing paranormal about it. Most of the places it was totally like made up, but when you're like 10 and 11, it seemed really scary, and I was just like captivated by it. And then obviously in the early 2000s, aside from just listening to Art Bell, there were all those TV shows. There's like a big influx of TV shows with like ghost hunting, like Most Haunted and Ghost Hunters. And so all of that just totally captivated me as a kid.
Cool. Well, have you ever been on a paranormal investigation? And if so, what was that experience like for you?
That's like really funny because people always ask me, do you do paranormal investigations? And I actually have not. I've stayed in haunted hotels where I did have stuff happen, and I've had just like other weird stuff happen, like where I've had what I think to be hauntings in my house, but I've never actually gone like out with like, you know, an EMF detector or any of that stuff anywhere. I mean, like the closest thing I would say to doing a paranormal investigation is like sitting with friends with like a Ouija board or the Ouija board app somewhere, but I've never done like a full-on paranormal investigation. Though I will say, like last year, two of my friends and I were eating lunch at the Plaza Hotel, which is really old in New York City, and we were like bored afterwards, and we sat on the staircase we didn't have a Ouija board, but we downloaded a Ouija board app, and I downloaded 2 apps on my phone, and they all went to this like random number. It was like TU789. And then my friend downloaded the same app, and it said TU789. And we looked that thing up, and like it said it was some airline flight to Tunisia or something, and we didn't think anything of it. And then like 6 months later, my friend actually went on a whim to Tunisia, and he wasn't on TU789, but when he was at the baggage claim, and like he sent me a text message with it, the flight that was above his at the baggage claim was flight TU789. So that was kind of freaky, but I mean, like, I don't know. I've never done any ghost hunting though.
Okay. Well, have you had any type of paranormal events happen to you other than that? I mean, have you like witnessed a ghost?
Yeah, I have. I mean, like when I was 17, we went on vacation for 2 weeks to San Diego, to the Hotel Del, and I actually, like, I wanted to stay in the old section, but my mom liked the ocean front, and they didn't have anything ocean front in the old section, so they put us in the new section, which was built, I want to say, in, like, the 70s or something, but the land that it was built on was where, back in the 1800s, when the Del opened, people that could not afford to stay in the hotel would pay money to camp out on the beach next to the hotel. And when we were staying in that section, we had weird stuff happen. Like, I had this back when CD players were a thing. I brought a CD with me, and I would be in the bathroom, like, flat ironing my hair. And the sound on the CD player would go up and down, and tracks would skip. And then we had to check out for, like, 2 days because I had to go to some stupid convention that I wanted to go to. And the thing that I had gone to, I had, like, gone to the zoo and some other stuff, and I had taken over 200 photos on my digital camera. And so when we checked back into the Del, I was like, Mom, please stay in the old section. And she's like, fine, I'm going to the beach. You check into the room. So I checked into this room, and when I got up there, the bellhop was like, are you sure you want to stay here? And I know it was not the Cape Morgan room because that's on the other side of the hotel. And when I got in there, I just felt kind of, like, uneasy. And I went up to the door to take a picture of the map of the hotel on the door so I could show my friends, okay, this is how far I am from the haunted Cape Morgan room. And when I went to my computer to import my photos I'd taken at the San Diego Zoo and the 2 photos I'd taken in this hotel room, all my photos from the zoo were fine, but the 2 photos I took in the hotel room came up corrupted. And I had a really, really expensive Canon point-and-click camera, and that had never happened to me before. And so I thought it was weird. Then I went and took a shower, and the way that the bathrooms are there, because the hotel wasn't built with bathrooms in all the rooms originally because it's in the 1880s, so it's like the bathroom is in the center of the room, and the way that the door is, there's no airflow into the bathroom. There's no vent there. Yet when I was in the shower, and it was really dimly lit, and it was really creepy in there, the whole time my curtain, the shower curtain, was blowing, and I felt really, really uneasy. So then a little while later, my mom came up to the room, which, oh, by the way, there was also, like, a lot of the electrical wasn't working right in the room. And my mom came up, and as soon as she stepped in the room, she says, we're not staying in here. Like, she just felt a really bad vibe. So we ended up actually getting them to switch us back to a room in the new section of the hotel. And we had weird stuff that happened again in this other oceanfront room in the new section where, like, the light cord was, like, dangling out of the socket. And I can't really explain it, but it was, like, literally, like, where it should not have, there's no, like, way for it just to dangle out of the socket. And the sound on the TV would go up and down. The one night we were, like, walking by the pool, and you could smell, like, perfume. Another night we went and took a walk around the old section of the hotel, and it reminded me of being in The Shining. Like, we actually got lost. Like, it's just really creepy vibes. And then the day that we checked out of the hotel, I had my CD in the CD player, and literally we had gotten all the bags out to the car and just stepped in the room to make sure nothing was in there, and all of a sudden the CD player turned on. Like, it was just reminding me, oh, don't forget your CD. So that was really, I don't know, freaky, but I didn't see any, like, apparitions. It's just little things, but I don't know.
Okay.
I definitely believe it's haunted.
That sounds like it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about demons? I mean, have you had any experience with that, or anybody that you know had demons?
I don't know what I believe on that. I did have an ex-boyfriend who was unstable, and he claimed that he, like, before I knew him, had used a Ouija board at his parents' house, and that his parents, like, weren't living there or something at the time, and they had renters, and that the renters and him saw demons or something, and that he went online and downloaded an exorcism thing, and that he did an exorcism, and that the lights turned off, and that he saw things, like, running on the stairs or the floor. And that story was always really bizarre to me, and like I don't know how much I believe it because he did drugs and stuff. But every time my ex-boyfriend would come to our house, we had a golden retriever, and the golden retriever was a very well-trained dog. It never peed in the house. Every time he came over, at the sight of him, the dog would pee on itself, and that never happened before. And like insects and stuff, like we could be out somewhere and there would be like bees or something, and he could let bees land on his hand and they wouldn't sting them. Like it was like, and I had like stuff happen in my house around when I met him. I started having weird stuff where things would fall down off walls, or like objects would be misplaced, doors would open, faucets would turn on and off. And like I didn't just witness it, like my mom witnessed stuff, my friend who's like my personal assistant, she witnessed stuff. Actually, like after I'd broken up with him, my mom and my assistant went to go see him in New York City. And that's the other thing, it happened at our house in Arizona and it happened in New York. And like a couple hours later, my assistant and I were like in my bedroom, and we heard the shower turn on in my bathroom. So, and she was like freaked out. So like different people saw stuff, and everything stopped when I cut off contact with him completely. But for like 2 years, we had stuff with like water faucets and door handles. So I always felt like it was either the Ouija board thing that he talked about, that maybe he didn't really get rid of the demon, because as far as I know, if you're not a Catholic exorcist or like a priest or something, there's no way for you to conduct an exorcism on your own. But, I mean, it's possible it was just coincidence, and that for some reason the dog, like maybe he had like pheromones that caused the dog to pee on himself, but I don't know.
What is your opinion on someone who claims to have psychic abilities?
I actually went to a psychic this morning, which is part of why I'm tired, because I'm not like an early riser, but I don't know. I mean, the jury's out for me on that, because I've gone to a lot of psychics out of curiosity, and sometimes they seem really real. Like this one, I was convinced was real, and then I realized that she had conned me, and she'd like done extensive research on me on the internet, and that she used that. So now if I go to a psychic, I don't give them my name, just the first name or whatever. But like the one I went to today, nothing she said was groundbreaking. I think a lot of psychics or supposed psychics are just good at cold reading people, because if you're like, for instance, if you're in like your 20s, okay, and you're going to a psychic, chances are you want to know about your career or you want to know about your boyfriend. And then a lot of the time, like, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm seeing that your boyfriend's on drugs. Well, that's most millennials know somebody that's on drugs. That's like not really an amazing guess. So like I just feel like there's a lot of really generic things that you can come up with that fit almost everybody or fit a certain profile of somebody. And then with people that claim to do mediumship, there's different buzzwords they hit on. Like they always say, oh, I'm seeing something in the chest or the throat region, because most people when they die, something has to do with like their heart stopping, or like, you know, you can't breathe. So that's like a common thing, like, oh, or you say, oh, I'm seeing a car accident, because if it's a young person, because that's obviously a very common way that like young people die is in car accidents. Or they'll say, oh, there's a piece of jewelry. Well, like, obviously if somebody's like grandma died or whatever, or great grandma, it's not uncommon that they're going to leave her you jewelry or something. So they hit on things that they feel can apply to pretty much any situation, or just so generic that there'll be somebody that fits that in your life. And people who are like desperate or want to see something, they're going to believe like, oh yes, they're really talking to great grandma Mitzi or whatever, when no, it's just they're good at guessing. However, I think there are some people who truly are gifted as like the people that have been able to predict actual events. Like we had a guy on the Eddie Jason Chris show who had, I guess, like back in the 90s, he had been on some thing and he like predicted the Oklahoma City bombing. Like, yeah, people like that definitely have some kind of second sight, but the average like tarot reader or person that's saying like, oh, I am a medium, I don't believe that they actually have abilities.
Well, saying that you've talked a little about Ouija boards. What's your opinion about Ouija boards?
That's another thing. I mean, the jury's out. I mean, I thought the T789 thing was kind of freaky, but I mean, it could be a coincidence that my friend happened to take a trip to Tunisia later that year. I mean, he already knew that the Ouija board thing was a flight to Tunisia, so maybe that just like gave him the inspiration to go to Tunisia. I don't know. I actually don't even know why he chose to go there on the trip, but nothing I've ever been told by a Ouija board was groundbreaking. And like with Ouija boards, when you're sitting there with friends, you have to wonder, well, is one of your friends being a dick and moving the board on their own, or is it that we're just having muscle responses that we're not aware of, and our brains are subconsciously moving the board and we're not really aware that we're doing that? So, I mean, I think that there's something you should use caution with, because I have heard really creepy stories, and like my ex-boyfriend claiming that it brought on demons. I still, like I said, he was a drug user, so I don't know how credible that was. Or I think even our Belle and George Norrie were both terrified on their shows of Ouija boards, and like had some stories that they wouldn't talk about or whatever. So, I mean, I think it's something you should be careful with, because obviously if there's any chance that you're opening up a portal to demons, you don't want to do that. But I don't know that I necessarily believe that you can open up a portal to demons with a Ouija board. I mean, for the most part, it's just a Milton Bradley toy.
Yeah. Well, here's a question I like to ask everyone. I'm really surprised at the answers I get. But have you ever had an out-of-body experience or astral projected? And, if so, can you, talk about that experience and how it affected you?
Sure. So astral projection is something I've always been really, really interested in, and I've tried to do it. Like, I spent a lot of time a couple years ago where I would try, like, every day. I would listen to YouTube meditations. I'd try different methods. There's been 2 times where I thought I might have done it, but I'm not really sure. Was it a dream, or was I actually having an out-of-body experience? I tend to think that they were just dreams, because I could never leave my house. However, when I was little, when I was 11, so in like 2001, on 2 occasions, I had sleep paralysis, which was very frightening to me. Where I woke up, but I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't move, and I was hearing loud whooshing sounds in my head. And both of those times it happened when I fell asleep during the day. Like, I had, gotten up early and taken a nap. And the one time, I didn't fall asleep in my bed. Like, 'cause I know for sure the one time I was, like, watching TV and fell asleep on the living room floor. So that stuff I think is really creepy. And from what I've heard, that getting into that state is, like, the middle plateau between going from sleep to an astral projection, though I did not astral project when I was 11. And that if I had, that would have scared the crap out of me, because the sleep paralysis scared me enough. But I don't think I've actually successfully astral projected. I would love to. I think if it's possible, that's a really cool thing. And I guess part of my interest in it is because I feel like if you can prove to yourself that out-of-body experiences are real, then you can prove to yourself that life after death is real.
Well, what's your thoughts on UFOs and cryptozoology? Have you had any experience with either one?
Cryptozoology, not obviously, but no, I have not had any experience with cryptozoology. I've never seen chupacabra, which I had an expert on my show who said chupacabra is bullshit, which I tend to believe that. I've never seen Bigfoot, and I don't think I'd want to see Bigfoot. However, UFOs, I have seen UFOs, but I don't really, well, let's see, the one time when I was 15, I was out skateboarding at like 4 in the morning, and I lived in Arizona at the time. I saw over what would have been Tempe, I saw this bright, like, huge object up in the sky, and then I can only describe it as it shimmered like rainbow, like gasoline, and then it disintegrated. And I thought at first that it was either a plane exploded or that it was a UFO, and I was terrified and ran all the way back to my house. And it definitely was not a meteorite or anything. I looked those up. It was not a meteorite. It was too big. That is the only time I've seen something where I've thought maybe that is something from another world. As far as other UFOs I've seen, which I've seen a bunch in Arizona. When I lived in Arizona, I would see them almost like every 2 years. I would see something. And all of the other things I've seen there, I don't think were out of this world. I think they were government crafts, especially like the one time, it was, I want to say November 2012, I saw a V-shaped formation of lights at dusk, and one by one, each light would blink out, and then the final light blinked out over where Luke Air Force Base is. So I'm sorry. If that's an alien, I highly doubt that they're just magically deciding to blink out over an Air Force Base. I tend to think it's just military craft.
That's awesome. That's cool. You got something?
No, I've seen like a bunch of different things. I've also seen ones that kind of like helicopters, but they were circling around each other, and then each one would like disappear downward. So it's like they definitely weren't helicopters. But yeah, I've seen a slew of different weird light formations in the Phoenix metro, but I don't believe that any of them were from another planet. However, I do think the Phoenix lights phenomenon, which I did not see because I was 7 years old and it was a school night, that I do think could have been aliens because of the sheer size of it. Where the hell is the government landing a craft that big? But as far as anything I've personally seen, I don't think it's just aliens.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on animal mutilation that have been documented? Do you think they're alien related, possibly?
Things that I'm not really sure on. I don't really find it that interesting. I'm like, this idea of like dead cows kind of just like grosses me out. So it's not something I've looked into a terrible lot. But, you know, I've seen a lot of these things that debunk it, that it's just, you know, stages of decomposition being mistaken for alien mutilation. So, you know, to me, the jury's out on that one. I don't really feel passionately one way or another that I believe in it or don't believe in it. I think it's possible that aliens are coming to study cattle because of like their genetics, but on the other side, I think it's also very possible that these are just cows that died naturally or unnaturally and are going through decomposition stages.
Okay. So what's your thoughts and your opinion about alien abductions and UFO sightings that could have been mistaken for spiritual or angelic experiences?
I mean, there's a lot of people that claim that they have been abducted by aliens. I even had a guy on my show back in August or September who I would never have thought was abducted by aliens. He's somebody that was like kind of like an acquaintance from Los Angeles, and he was like, yeah, I was abducted by aliens, and like his story was actually pretty compelling and creepy. I mean, a lot of people claim that they've been abducted. I think it's one of three things. I think it's either they are being abducted by aliens, or they're delusional, or I guess one of four things. Okay, so they've been abducted by aliens, they're delusional, they're attention seekers that are making this up, or the person had some other traumatic event, whether it was an abduction of some sort or they were like molested or something, and they're using this story that they were abducted by aliens to cover up for their actual trauma. I will say, though, like the Fire in the Sky Travis Walton thing, is very compelling, though I had somebody who was pretty big in the music industry that knew a lot of people and was kind of interested in paranormal research, who told me that they knew from people that the Travis Walton story was bullshit. So I never actually pursued asking this person for details on it. So I don't know, but I feel like they were a fairly credible person. So I don't know what my thought is on alien abduction. I don't rule that out. I think that's very possible. Like, I would believe that people are personally abducted by aliens way before I would believe in the cattle mutilations, because I just feel like that's more far-fetched and like weird. But I don't know what I believe with it.
Well, what's your thoughts about Area 51? I mean, do you think the U.S. government, maybe hiding any type of evidence there, or any other compound?
I definitely think that there's stuff going on at Area 51 that the government doesn't want us to know about, or that there was at one point. Like, maybe it's not now, because if you think about it, everyone knows about Area 51. So, like, why not have a different military base somewhere else they actually do the stuff at? And Area 51 is, like, the attention drawer. It's like, when you're, like, at Disneyland, they have the castle, and there's really nothing in the castle, but they use the castle as a point to draw people's attention. I think the Area 51 is like the Disney castle. It draws people's attention so that they're not paying attention to or spending a lot of time trafficking to other places. So they can do all their stuff covertly, like, let's say at, like, Wright-Patterson, or probably not Wright-Patterson because that's pretty well known, but, like, let's say there's, like, a base in Montana or something versus actually doing it at Area 51. But regardless, I think when people go to Area 51 and they see the aircraft there, those are obviously not aliens. Those are, like, the aircraft I saw in Phoenix. They're U.S. military test crafts. I don't think that, like, the aliens are intergalactically, like, traveling to Area 51 to meet with President Trump or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's your thoughts on the ancient astronaut theory, that aliens have come and helped the evolution of humans?
That I actually do believe in to some degree. I think it's a more plausible theory of the origin of man. I think it's far more plausible to believe that we came from another planet or were engineered by beings from another planet than that we just randomly showed up here out of the, like, muck of existence, But then again, it also breaches, well, if we came from another planet, how did we get there to begin with? So, I mean, it's an ongoing paradox that we'll probably never know, but I do believe that the ancient astronaut theory is plausible, especially when you take into account these, like, hidden books of the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, that talk about people coming from other planets, and the whole story of the Nephilim, and, there's just so many different things that point to that being true. However, I think the TV show, Ancient Aliens, is totally bogus. Most of the stuff they talk about on there has little to no evidence to back it up, and it's just, like, people just peddling sensationalism.
Okay. So, you said you've never seen anything crypto or anything, but has anybody around you, or anybody that you may have interviewed talked about, Bigfoot, Mothman, or Dogman, or anything like that?
I'm actually going to be having a guy on Jeff Waldridge, who was on a couple of weeks ago to talk about a haunted hotel. He does, like, he does ghost investigations, but he also is involved with, like, this Bigfoot convention in Kentucky, and so he's actually going to come on to talk about Bigfoot in about 2 weeks, and then I have another guest that's going to be on in about 4 weeks that's going to be talking about Chicago sightings of the Mothman. So that's actually stuff that's coming up. But the only crypto guests that I've had on were, like, I had a guy on about the Chupacabra, but he actually spent this, I can't think of his name. I want to say it was Benjamin Radford. I think it was Benjamin Radford. He spent several years studying El Chupacabra. Like, he went to the places where it was sighted in South America, Puerto Rico, interviewed people, really, really looked into it, and he completely debunked it. It's completely not real, which bummed me out because that was actually one of the cryptoids that I had more of a belief, but now I'm like, no, I don't think El Chupacabra is real. Bigfoot, I'm on the fence with that because part of me feels like, well, if it was real, somebody would have found it by now. We would have it. It would be on display in the museum. But then, it's possible that it is real and it's eluded us.
Well, I'm going to ask, get a couple more questions in here, but I know that you're so tired, I won't keep you for the whole 2 hours. I don't want to wear you out. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
You're young. You need all the sleep you can get because when you get older, you don't sleep at all. So, what's your plans for, the rest of the year? Do you have any projects, that you're working on that you can discuss?
So for this year, I'm kind of, like I mentioned before, I'm getting back to doing music. So I'm back working on writing stuff and going to hopefully record another album this year. I keep saying that to my fans. I was going to put out an album last year, but that whole project, I pretty much scrapped those songs, and I want to go in a different direction. So I'm back to doing music, or hopefully we'll be back to doing music this year. Hoping to do more with the radio show, get more awesome guests on, get bigger. So I'm just I'm kind of focusing on all my projects that I already have going, and maybe I'll add some more on there. Just whatever seems to fit. I try to stay kind of on brand.
Okay.
Is there anything that you would like for the listeners to know about you that we haven't covered, that, things that you're planning on doing or would like to do, or, anything that we have not mentioned?
I don't know. You guys can tune in to Blackout on Adobe Radio at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. I'm on every week. So definitely check out my radio show. And if you guys want to, listen to my music, I have everything's on Spotify and iTunes, all those platforms under Samantha Scarlette. And I don't know what would I say. I really don't know what I would say if I had something I don't know. I'm also I have to preface this, I'm very tired. I set my alarm clock and woke up 15 minutes before coming on here.
I don't feel bad. I did the same thing, but I was an hour.
Oh, okay.
I'm up all night, so I'm a night owl.
I usually am, but my sleeping's been really messed up the last couple weeks. I was on the West Coast for a month at Christmas, and then when I got back to New York, I was sleeping till 4 in the afternoon, and then I just fixed my sleeping kind of where I'm waking up at 4 in the morning, and then I'm falling asleep at noon till 7. So it's just really weird. I've been sleeping most of the day, and I need to get off that.
Yeah, it's rough trying to do something when you need to be up during the day, especially for me. Oh.
Yeah. Now I'm curious because you mentioned that you were a trucker, and that then you seem to have an interest in cryptoids. Did you ever see any Bigfoots or anything creepy while you were out trucking?
Now, when I was out trucking, not a Bigfoot, I seen something like that around here. And one day I was hunting and walked around a ridge, and when I came around a corner, I seen this Harrier, 7 foot, because I'm 6'3" myself, and this was way taller than me. And I looked up at it, and it kind of looked down at me, and I noticed there was a small one beside of it, and I'm like, oh shit. And it's we made eye contact. It froze, I froze, and it's it felt like forever standing there, seeing who was going to do what. And it finally it backed down and went back down the hill, and I just stood there going, I can't believe what I fucking saw. And I got a rifle and I didn't shoot it. But
I'd be terrified.
Well, see, now I understand why everybody's like, well, why don't these hunters kill them? Because I know you're sitting there with a gun, you don't even think about shooting it. You just can't believe what the fuck you're seeing. You're like, it can't be real. And if I do pull my gun, and if I miss or just wound it, I'm fucked. You just have that mentality, so you just kind of let it go its way, and you go your way. Now, when I drove a truck, I was actually going down from Flagstaff down to Phoenix one night. And there was a big fireball in the sky, and I was actually listening to Art Bell, and the UFO guy called and said that there was reports of a UFO flying around Phoenix. And I seen the fireball go by, and then next thing I know, I seen 4 jets. I mean, they had the turbo kicked in because they had a big old blue flame shooting out the ass end trying to catch it. And I watched it veer off to the right, a real sharp right, and the jets tried to make that turn, and I mean, they couldn't make that turn. And it just flew away, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm fucking watching this, and they're actually talking about it on the radio. I mean, yeah, and I've seen shit. Some of these truck stops, people supposed to be there, and they're not there. And yeah, the road's got a lot of creepy shit on it. I can tell you that.
So have you ever seen ghosts on the side of the road? Because I've also heard a lot of those stories, that truckers will see ghosts of people that died in accidents or phantom hitchhikers. Did you ever have any of that?
I did have a couple of times that it'd be about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd see somebody standing on the side of the road, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing? You know, on the interstate, you're doing 70, 80 mile an hour, and you don't see no other cars or nothing. They're just standing there, and they kind of got their head down, not even looking up at you. It gives you a little creepy feeling, you know, like, oh, Lord. But I've had that happen 2 or 3 times.
That's pretty shaking.
But it's a different world, and I love driving cross country. I mean, we did a show for my ghost story about where I have a paranormal group, and one of our 3 of our investigations they did a story about, and they wanted to fly out, and I hate flying. I said, we'll drive, and the people that was with me, they're like, oh my God, really? I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna ride this bitch out. Because I hate flying. Just the thought of being in a tin can and have no control if it was to crash, I can't handle that. Plus, I'm a big boy, and I don't like people sitting on top of me when I'm riding.
The key to flying in an airplane is you get first class, and then you have champagne as soon as the plane takes off so that you're asleep. Like, you knock yourself out.
Well, the only time I ever flown was when I was working in the oil and gas fields, and I had to go through training out in Oklahoma, and had to fly from Virginia to Oklahoma, and that was terrifying. I can say I was terrified. Every damn flight I was on, I had a window seat, and that did not make me feel no better. And on the way back,
that's so funny.
One of the little crop dusters we were on, there was a guy, way bigger than me, way bigger. I looked at that seat, and I'm like, I looked at the stewardess or flight attendant. I said, where am I supposed to sit? She said, right there. I said, honey, I ain't no way I'm going to get my ass in there. And the guy said, well, I'll scoot over. Scoot over? Hell, you're already up against the wall. But I sat down there, and I don't know how he maneuvered, but next thing I know, he's on my lap and on my side. And for like 45 minutes, that son of a bitch sat on me. And I just couldn't, I didn't have the heart to tell him to get off of me because he didn't have nowhere to go. But when we got off the plane, my whole right side of my body was soaking wet. Sweat, nasty. I don't know if that was my sweat, his sweat, or a combination of both. Well,
it seems like part of your problem with.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say part of your problem with flying is that you are on like small planes, because that's obviously going to be scarier. Like, fly commercial, it's not that bad.
Well, if I can get the nerve up to do it, I might one day. I know there's a lot of places, they want us to go overseas and stuff to fly or to get there. Everybody's like, got to fly. I say, I'll take a boat. That's the closest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would not take a boat. So much stuff happens on like cruise ships. People get pushed overboard. Look at that ship that capsized off the coast of Italy a couple years ago. And I mean, I've seen Titanic way too many times to want to get on a boat.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of boats either. I can't swim. See, I can't fly and I can't swim. So I'm a landlocked.
Yeah, if you can't swim, don't go on a boat. That's ridiculous.
Well, I've heard all kinds of people go on boats can't swim.
I've been on 3. I can, but I love it. I love
you like
cruise
the boat?
ships. Yeah.
You fly?
Yes, I've flown.
You like to fly?
I do like to fly.
Whew.
I was on a 14-hour flight to Germany.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You were in Germany for a while. Yeah.
Depending on the airline, it's really fun.
Well, if I could get drunk or high or something before, I believe I'd be all right. But
just fly to Europe on Virgin. They give you, like, as soon as you get on the plane, they give you champagne, and then they give you dinner, and then they give you more. Like, they just keep giving you alcohol the entire flight. Like, you don't even ask for it. They just keep offering you alcohol the entire flight, and they have really good food, and they have like movies that are still in theaters. Honestly, like with flying Virgin Atlantic, I didn't want to get off the plane, so I suggest it.
Well, if I ever find that rich woman, I'll do that. Find me some rich old woman, be like, "Hello, baby, how you doing?" You need
You're
a big old snuggly bear. Well, Samantha, I won't keep you any longer. I know you're tired, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Much about you, and you're welcome. Come back anytime. Like I tell everyone on the show, I have an open door policy. Just if I don't hit you up, you hit me back up. You got something going on, I want to sit and talk about. Shoot shit, as I call it.
Awesome. I'm shocked we didn't get any call-ins. I guess a lot of the people that are awake right now are not in this country, so I don't want the international.
Well, yeah, I didn't get no call-ins. I was sitting here watching the board. But
I'm bummed.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I'm like, they're all letting me down on Twitter. Anyway, yeah. Good night, you guys. And yeah, I'm gonna get back to sleep. I'm so tired.
Okay, well, you have a good night and you take care and have a good one. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for us tonight. I want to thank Samantha Scarlette for coming on the show and thank everyone who took the time to listen in. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Vibe Radio Network and to Ryan for putting up with us. Also to the first responders and our men and women in armed services, thank you for your service and the sacrifices you and your families make every day for our great nation. Our guest for next Thursday night, February 22nd, will be Jeanette Lott. How you say it? Talupe. If I'm saying your name wrong, I'm sorry. I will look it up and try to figure out how to say it. Jeanette is an author and UFO researcher. Tune in next week. Hopefully I'll know how to pronounce her last name by then. To another exciting show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone could go to our Facebook page Within the Chaos, and don't forget to like our page. To see upcoming guests along with past shows postings, you can go to my website at www.blackdiamondps.org or talkradio.com/Within the Chaos. Also, I have a YouTube channel up now, and you can go to it. Just look up Within the Chaos for past shows. Thanks again. Till next week, everyone have a safe weekend. Good night, and love you all.
Never let it out, you never let it go. I feel it raining on fire, I feel me losing control. I can see in your eyes that it's just about over. I can see in your lies that I'm just about over this life with you goes on. And oh, why don't you stand up? There's nothing left to scream about. And shut your mouth. There's nothing left to talk about. Never let it out. I never let it go. I'm living days on fire, I'm spinning out of control.
is waiting, all systems are go. Are you sure? Control is not convinced, but the computer has the evidence. No need to abort. The countdown starts. Watching in a trance, the crew is certain, nothing left to chance. All is working, trying to relax. Up in the capsule, sent me up a drink. Jokes, Major Tom. The count goes on. 4, 3, 2, 1. Earth below us, 15 falling, floating, weighted, calling, Second stage is cut. We're now in orbit. Stabilizers up. Running perfect. Starting to collect. Requested data. What will it affect when all is done? Think Major Tom. Back at ground control. There is a problem. Go to rockets full. Not responding. Hello, Major Tom. Are you receiving? Turn the thrusters on. We're standing by. There's no reply. 4, 3, 2, 1. Earth below us, 15 falling, floating, weighted, calling, Across the stratosphere, a final message. Give my wife my love, then nothing more. Far beneath the ship,